everybody. This is Alan Petersen with Meet the Thriller Author. And on the podcast today, I have Maria Frankland, who writes psychological thrillers, thrillers in general. And she's joining me from across the pond here from the United States in England. Maria, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I've listened to so many of the podcasts and so many of my favourite authors that to be interviewed by you now feels quite surreal.
Oh, that's great. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Yeah, I've been a fan of your books. I love psychological thrillers and those type of thrillers, so it's been fun. So excited to have you on here. And so before we get into your books and what's coming out, because you have a book coming out on March 10th, The Road to
That's right.
Revenge. So we'll get into all that good stuff. But let's get a little bit info on your journey and your background to where you are today. So you've published more than 2 dozen novels. So I have to ask, did you always want to be a thriller writer, or did that evolve over time? What was your journey like to get to where you are now?
Oh, right. Well, I always wanted to be an author, not necessarily a thriller author. So I'll run you through how I got to that. So I've always had a massive love of books and have been a writer literally since I could hold a pen, like so many other writers. But I had a particularly difficult and traumatic childhood, which led to me using the library as a sort of place of safety and refuge when I couldn't get in at home. I did end up in care. So the library and books and reading and writing were my form of escape as a child, and a very welcome one too. So I was a real bookworm, and read avidly. So that's where my love of books came from. And I continued writing throughout my teens. Also had a very tricky first marriage. So again, the pen and paper were my escape and my refuge, and pouring things into my writing. I never kind of really expected that eventually it would become my career. At that point, it was more kind of therapy and escape, and I loved writing. But as I got through my twenties and did a teacher training degree, which also had an English degree, it was sort of joint honours. I found I was loving the English side of it way more than the teaching side, and sort of excelled at the creative writing bit, and it kind of reawakened my love of writing and that yearning to really do something with it beyond it just being a hobby. So I would write in the early mornings when my children were still asleep and on my lunch breaks. And I did become a teacher, but I only lasted for 3 years. Before that, was an administrator. So I hated being an administrator, really. I found it quite boring, for me, because I wanted to be able to use my imagination. I hated being a teacher even more, and lasted 3 years in the job. When my second marriage ended, which was actually on my 40th birthday, they say life begins at 40. The first thing I did was to enroll on an MA, a master's in creative writing, which was absolutely brilliant and springboarded me onto so many other things. By this time, I'd started writing a book. I've been pouring kind of all my unhappy marriage experiences into it, and I've changed the genders around to try and sort of hide the fact that I was writing it. I didn't want to be sued or anything like that. So at that point, it was, because I'd swapped the genders around, it was called The Man Behind Closed Doors, and was shaping up to be more of a family saga than anything else. But it was when I read Gone Girl at around that time, so I think we'd been around 2014 by now. I read Gone Girl, and I thought what I'm writing could be a thriller. I could actually make somebody, you know, pass away quite horribly. So it kind of evolved and became fiction. And I worked on that through the MA I was doing. I also put my teaching career and my administration career behind me. I was still teaching, but I carved out a career through my writing. So I was teaching it. I was doing I was going into care homes and leading creative writing workshops. I was teaching a course at the local night school called Write a Novel in a Year. I was teaching in the community centre, so I became self-employed, and I just loved doing this. So yeah, I finished The Man Behind Closed Doors, and yes, there was a killing in it. And but then I hit a wall in that nobody wanted it. So after 46 rejections, I'd had enough. Although one of those submissions resulted in me being shortlisted for this like international debut novelist competition, and that was really encouraging. So I got down to the final 10 and went to a prize giving in London, and it assured me that the book had legs. And I'll come back to how much it had legs as I continue with this. So. In the end, I self-published The Man Behind Closed Doors, along with several other books. And it was, I used to think self-publishing was kind of a last resort and a plan B, but I've very much shown myself that it's the way to go. And I've loved every minute of it. It's not been easy, but The Man Behind Closed Doors did get picked up by a publisher later on in my career. So yeah, I'm sort of jumping backwards and forwards here. I'm sorry. I will refer to the notes I made, and that might. Yeah. So as amidst all this, I met my second husband, Michael, and unlike my first husband, he's been really supportive of my writing career. My first husband thought it was a complete waste of time.
Oh yeah, that's hard.
My second husband, Michael, is my proofreader, is my first reader, is my the person who kicks me up the backside when I'm not getting on with what I'm supposed to be doing, like writing.
Yeah.
And we married just before the lockdown, in the February just before the lockdown, and he moved over to Yorkshire from Lancashire where he lived. Anybody who knows Yorkshire and Lancashire knows it's like the dark side when you go across the border. So I know Daniel Hurst, who also lives in Lancashire, so we have a bit of a joke about that when we bump into one another. So yes, he moved over to the dark side. And because lockdown happened and I was self-employed, all my work dried up. He just started a new job and was immediately laid off.
Oh wow.
So we began marriage, surviving on loans and credit cards, and hoping I might make some money from The Man Behind Closed Doors, and the other books that I had sort of ready to go. So yeah, he's been the wind beneath my wings as Michael. He went back to work sort of 10 months after after lockdown first happened, and worked two jobs as a probation officer, which was a new career for him, and a carer at weekends so that I could get my writing career off the ground. So it's paid off in the end. But yeah, I've been very, very lucky. So, like so many writers, obviously, I've started off in lockdown, but without him kind of saying, right, I'll pay all the bills and let you get on with it, I would be nowhere near where I am today. I'm just writing book number 28.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah.
That's a lot of challenges for a new marriage. Lockdown,
Yeah.
you're stuck together, you're really
Yeah.
discovering. So that's a great. I'm glad everything worked
Yeah.
out well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So, but now it's kind of interesting. You mentioned that your first book that you self-published was picked up later. That's very unusual too. Usually the publishers want something new. So that says a lot about that book and
Yeah.
everything. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yes, well, in my first year of writing, so 2020, I released four books. After the second one, I got a really, really awful review on Amazon, and I nearly gave up. It was so bad, I nearly gave up. But the readers did start coming. And some of them are still with me now. Some of them have become friends. I've got a wonderful community of readers. So in year two, I felt like I was going backwards, really, as far as, the income was concerned, and but the readers did still keep coming. And then year three, I scraped everything together and came to Author Nation,
Mhm.
which was wonderful. But I came home wanting to do all the things as you do. So I pulled all my books out of Kindle Unlimited and went wide. What else did I do? I decided I didn't like my covers anymore and I was going to redo them myself. And I'm not a cover designer, so I made a bit of a hash of that and ended up employing a new cover designer. I was running Kickstarters, I set up a Patreon, I was doing all the things that all these silver shiny
Oh yeah,
bits.
all the new stuff.
And then, yeah, and then after a few months, realise actually, no, let's go back to you and and around this time as well, it was my 50th birthday when I got an email from Booker saying they were interested in working with me. So yeah, that's the happy ending for the Man Behind Closed Doors. Booker rebranded that one as The Married Couple. And it's done really well, both for me and with them. So they took three of my back catalogue and I wrote three new ones for them. So that was pretty much year four was my Booker year. But beyond that, so year five, I decided I wanted to go back as an indie. I'm a bit of a control freak. And I like to, name my books myself. I like to choose the titles. I like to keep the character names. I don't like people turning around and saying, "Oh, don't like that character," or "I'm not sure about that ending." And I just like the autonomy of being an indie author and just being able to make all the decisions and work on the marketing and all that kind of thing myself and really own my relationship with my wonderful readers. So year five, when I went back as an indie, I think that's where things have really taken off, and I'm suddenly bringing in lots and lots of new readers and seeing my books getting recommended a bit more on social media. So I think I'm living proof that it does take time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you've got to be quite tenacious about it. But I think, yeah, and now I'm into year six and I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one thing too. You can't stop, right? You have to like keep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
It's a fickle memory for if you can't really take off for a couple of years.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Uh, so kind of curious too. Now, you say you read a lot when you were growing up. Did you read like a whole sort of genres? What kind of writers like influenced you as an author?
Oh, right. Funnily enough, the one that really sticks in my mind is Mallory Towers. I can't remember. I think it could be Enid Blyton, but I can't remember. Um, and that was sort of set in a boarding school, and I went into a very similar environment because I spent my teens in children's homes. So I think that kind of resonated with me somewhat. I think all these difficult experiences, sort of before and after I went into care, and then my first marriage. They say what doesn't kill you gives you, well, in my case, something to write about. So I've been able to pull so much. I mean, at the time, things felt awful, but I've been able to pull so much of these past experiences into my writing. It now feels like a blessing that I've been through them, because my readers do comment on how authentic, these difficult scenarios in my writing are, these really toxic relationships. And that's because I've been able to draw on quite a lot of experience, which is great.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's kind of like therapy. Like I don't know. I've interviewed Dean Koontz, and he mentioned he had a rough childhood too, and books were his lifeline.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
kind of you don't think about that things when you're writing, especially when you're writing a little thriller here and there. You don't think about that
yeah.
stuff. It can really help somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I have tried writing a romance, but somebody ended up killing somebody else. I
Yeah,
think I'll stick with the thrillers.
you can't get the thriller out of your mind.
No, no, no. Mind you, it's those romance writers you've got to watch really, because we thriller authors, I think we get all our darkness out onto the page, don't
Yeah, yeah.
we?
Yeah, I was just at a conference here in San Francisco last week, Left Coast Crime, and they talked a lot about how thriller authors are like the nicest people you'll come across, crime
Yeah.
crime fiction writers, and it's true. Very helpful and giving you advice. So yeah.
yeah. I think the author community as a whole is like that. As an
Mhm.
industry, I've never come across anything where everybody's so willing to help each other. No matter what stage we're at, we'll always, reach back behind to pull somebody else along. And, like the groups we've got on Facebook, it's just such a wonderful community. I find that particularly within the indie community as well. It's wonderful.
Yeah, people share like what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, with regards to your books, you had one, The Winter Retreat came out December 2nd, so that's up and running, and then The
Yeah,
Road to Revenge is now on a pre-order. Can you tell us a little bit about those books, uh,
yeah.
like what
Yeah.
they're about and how the idea came to you? I know authors hate when I ask about the idea, but people love to hear that. So,
Well, the winter retreat was actually born out of a yoga retreat I was on with my sister in September. And when the yoga teacher said in the room we were practicing in, she said, "This used to be a chapel of rest." I'm like, oh, that really got my writer brain going there. And I ended up spending a lot of the 4 days we were there in the corner making notes. My sister went round telling everybody what I do for a living, and they were all like, "Oh," they noticed me writing something down. So that's where that story came from. But I made it where it's a real sort of locked room environment where there's more than one death in this one, and everybody's snowed in. So I set it obviously in the winter, yeah, and nobody can escape until the snow melts.
nice.
So yeah, that did yeah, that's gone really well. I've been really happy with that. And then the road to revenge, similarly, an experience. So I mentioned as we were chatting before we started recording, that I came over to the States in November. Um, Firstly to Author Nation, but then my husband and I took a road trip through some of America. I mean, we only saw a minute area of it, really, because it's so vast, isn't
Yeah.
it? Compared to the UK, it's just massive. And one of the places we came was San Francisco, where you are.
Yeah.
Um, and as I was saying, yes, we visited San Francisco and LA. It's supposed to be the Sunshine State. There for 3 days, and it did nothing but rain. So we brought the rain over from
Yeah.
England.
What did you feel at home?
Yeah. So yes, I set the road to revenge on that road trip. So I was constantly making notes and little recordings into my phone, and my husband's like looking sideways at me. He's driving, like, "Oh no, what's she plotting?"
Oh, I'll have to read that one.
Yeah, yeah. So it was lovely to set a book in America, because most of my books are set in Yorkshire in England, where I live. So it was kind of nice to. Some of my readers, my advanced team who've already read the book, have said it was a bit jarring to be taken out of Yorkshire, but my American readers have absolutely loved it. And I've dedicated it to them as well. And yeah, it's just nice to have that change and to set a book somewhere new. And yeah, it almost feels like a thank you to them for their support as well, to be able to set a book in America.
Yeah,
So,
we were like on the same track because I was in Author Nation in November too, and then I came home to San
oh, really?
Francisco. Yeah, so we were
Yeah.
like we probably passed each other, didn't recognize.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned that on the setting because, like you said, a lot of your stories are set. Is it Otley? Is that the?
Yeah, Otley's where I
Yeah,
live. Yeah.
yeah. So can you tell us about this? So characters is important to you, like in your latest book now, it's in the road trip in the United States. So can you tell us about that? What draws you to having like a setting be kind of like a main character in your books?
Yeah, that's a really good point. The setting is almost like a character, and
Hmm.
it's become sort of part of who I am as an author. I think we all have our sort of uniqueness, and yeah, my books are all set more or less in Otley or perhaps in York where I grew up as well. Um, and I just think, yeah, the accent, you can probably hear I've got a Yorkshire accent that comes through in my characters. And there's we've got beautiful scenery here. I live right on the edge of the Yorkshire Dales, so it's all very green, all lots of hills and valleys. So I bring that in, and so readers who live further afield can see the landscape. But I think in Yorkshire as well, we're very down to earth, kind of friendly people, and I think that comes across. Even though my stories are so dark, I think something of that. There is a lot of Yorkshireness in the characters.
Yeah, I kind of think I was just watching the American Werewolf in London the other. I love that movie when I was a kid, but I remember it's set in the countryside in England and those moors and stuff. And it's like it's a cool,
Yeah.
cool setting. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you now too, like with regards to your writing process, because to have aspiring writers that listen to this podcast, and I'm also nosy, so I want to see what everyone else is doing. Do
Yeah.
you for your books? Do you outline? Do you go by the seat of your pants? What's your process like?
Oh, a bit of both,
Mhm.
really. I kind of start off with like a germ of an idea. So I'm often out walking the dog when these come to me. So people will see a mad woman wittering away into her phone. It's going on about who's going to kill who and how. And yeah. So I usually start off with that sort of flash of an idea, and I've no shortage of those. They're always coming to me. I don't think I can live long enough for all the books I want to write. So then I usually allow myself a bit of thinking time on that book, and start making notes. And that kind of brings itself into a loose outline normally, but it's very loose. When I start writing, generally I know kind of some of the plot beats. And sometimes I've got an idea of a twist, but not always. Most of my stories, the prologue starts with a death, but you don't know who, and you don't know why, and you don't know how, and then the rest of the story kind of then leads back up to that moment. So usually that prologue's quite fully formed, but then the who and the how and the twist then come to me as a surprise as I'm writing. In fact, it always surprises me when I see in review. Sometimes I'll see in a review that somebody might have figured out the twist, and I think, well, you're good because even I didn't know the twist until I got there. So yeah, so sometimes I do need to then go back and put in a few little things to foreshadow the story. Yeah, so I'm a bit of both, really. I don't overly plan. I couldn't work like that.
Mhm.
I do like to have just a little bit of an idea of where I'm going.
And what do you use to write your books? Do you use a Scrivener, Word, something else?
I used to use Word when I first started, but it was quite unyielding.
Mhm.
You need to go back and find something. Um, so now I think I'm quite unusual because I write straight into vellum.
Oh, wow, that is
Yeah,
unusual.
but
Cool.
if you think of what vellum looks like when
Mhm.
you've uploaded a finished book, you all your chapters down one side. It's it's just really easy to navigate around, to go from chapter to chapter and to make amends. And then, of course, when it's finally ready, you just export the whole thing, ready to publish. So yeah, I've probably written now around about 20 books into vellum. And yeah, I love it. So I don't think they designed it as writing software, but that's how I use it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes
Yeah,
sense. We all end up,
yeah.
well, most of us indies end up in Vellum anyway at the end.
Well, that's it. So, but I start in vellum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about for like the editing and stuff? Do the because usually they want like Word documents. Do you just send them a Word, a copy or
Yeah, well, you can export a
yeah.
Word document out when it's ready. So, yeah, I do my first and second drafts I do at the same time in vellum. So every day when I revisit my manuscript, I go back over what I've done the day before and edit it, and then I carry on writing. And then I do a third draft where I go back over the whole thing. And then a fourth draft where I read out loud, and then it goes to my husband, who's my first reader. So yeah.
Nice, got the process going. And what the and what do you like have set hours? Do you say I'm going to write every day from this time to this time? Do you have word count goals? What keeps you on track?
A bit of both again, really. I do tend to write in the morning when I've got most of my energy. And then in an afternoon, I tend to do the more sort of businessy side and social media and marketing and ads and all that sort of thing. But yeah, so it's got to be mornings. I try to take weekends off these days now that things have got a little bit more, well, a bit less pressured now that I'm into year six of my full-time career. I try to take weekends off, but I love what I do so much that it's really difficult. I'm always thinking about my work, even if I'm trying to have a break from it sometimes.
And how long does it usually take from when you first start writing a book to till it's ready to upload and publish?
About 4 months,
Okay.
and that includes my advanced reader team. I'm quite quick now with writing. An average day, I usually do about 4,000
Oh,
words.
nice.
I've got that first draft, well, first and second draft because I do those together. I've usually got that ready inside a month. So, which is a bit of an improvement because my first novel, The Man Behind Closed Doors, took me 6 years to write.
Yeah,
So
a little
thankfully,
improvement.
yeah. Yeah, so 4 months, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was going to ask you too now, because so your thrillers, you're known for being grounded and realistic. So I'm kind of wondering about that. Like, how do you keep the tension high, but you're still trying to deliver the twists? Is that, I mean, are you thinking about that when you're writing your books? Like, I know you need to satisfy the reader, but you don't want to, So
Yeah.
how does that work?
Well, I think I'm constantly posing what ifs at the story. So I just keep stopping, particularly at the sort of end of chapters, and I'll think to myself, well, what if that happened? And what's the most outrageous thing that could happen now? And I'm constantly posing those what ifs, and that can often take me in a completely different direction to how I'd first planned it out. But of course, the twist, I mean, sometimes that's a real struggle.
Mhm.
And but in psychological thrillers, that's the crux of the story. The readers want a twist, and they don't want to know what it's going to be ahead of time. So it's really quite difficult sometimes to keep it fresh and original and unexpected. And there's been times I've literally got to take myself off on a long walk with the dog and just chew it over. And sometimes I've got to completely forget about the book, full stop. And it always comes though, it's like magic. Yeah, I'm worried in case I'll ever get the time when I'm writing a book and the twist won't come. I don't quite know how I'd handle that. But so far, as I say, I'm on book 28 and the twist has never eluded me yet. So as long as that keeps going for me.
Yeah, I also noticed on your website when I was doing a little research before the interview, you have a great section on for writers, and I know I have a lot of aspiring writers that listen to this podcast, and you have a teaching background. So can you tell us about that? Like, how and you've written a book for writers. So can you tell us a little bit about that and helping writers and
Right.
yeah.
I have a couple of free books on Amazon, one called Writing Inspiration, and the other is The Seven Secrets to Achieving Your Writing Dreams. So they're free on Amazon. And then I've got another four books about writing a novel, a collection of poetry, because I used to write poetry, short stories, and life story, because I have written a memoir as well. These were all courses that I used to teach back in between 2014 and 2020. I was teaching these courses that I'd written myself. So when lockdown happened, I put them into a book.
Oh, great.
Because obviously I couldn't teach anymore,
Yeah.
and I wanted to give something to writers that they could afford easily during lockdown. And those books have done really well on Amazon, and writers, sorry, really enjoyed them. And yeah, and it does support that the writing of like the write a novel in a year is basically where you write one page, which is 500 words every single day for a year, and it works.
Mhm.
It's how I used to approach my writing when I was first starting out. Uh, so yeah, it works.
Yeah, yeah. What is the biggest mistake you see new writers make?
Um, Probably leaving a manuscript for too long. So I think, especially when you're a new writer, you need to make contact with your manuscript really every day
Mhm.
until from start to finish. Even if you're just writing a paragraph or even just thinking about it or making a few notes. I think if you leave your manuscript for more than a couple of days, you stop hearing the characters' voices inside your head, and you sort of lose touch with the story. It stops living in you. So I think, I suppose even as an experienced writer, if I leave my manuscript more than a few days, it's really hard to get back into it. Which is why I tend to write my stories so quickly now, just to get the story out. Because if you stop writing, if you have too much of a gap, it just goes, it's really hard to pick back up again, and you lose the motivation and the interest and the excitement. So that's probably the biggest mistake I've seen new writers make.
Yeah, might as well start over if
Yeah.
you go too far. Yeah. And so I always ask my guests before I let them go, and we've already kind of been touching this a little bit, but what kind of advice would you have for someone who's thinking about writing a thriller?
Uh, oh, do lots of people watching.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm often to be found sitting in a cafe imagining who people are and what their relationship between each other might be. So yeah, lots of people watching, lots of eavesdropping, because you get
Mhm.
lots of lovely little juicy snippets of conversation that you can then turn into something else. Um, I'd say just do it. You just never know until you start writing, just how good you're going to be. And so many people are just frightened of starting. The amount of, um, you know, prospective writers I've spoke to say, I could write a book. And I think, well, do it then. It's no barrier to entry. All you need, and everybody's got a computer nowadays, or everybody can access pen and paper. So it's just sometimes that fear of getting started. But there's so many, brilliant workshops out there, so many groups and courses and everything like that to help people get going. It's such a wonderful community to be a part of, and always somebody willing to help. And you can ask if you get stuck with something.
And so, what are you working on next? What's
Uh,
next up for you? I know you have the new release coming out this next week, so you're gonna be very busy.
yeah, I've been getting that ready. That comes out on the 10th of March. The Road to Revenge, set in America. I'm now 15,000 words into my next book, which will be coming out in June, which is called The Twin Brother.
Ooh, I like that title. That's a good one.
So yeah, so that's about it's basically two couples, and the husbands are twins, but one of them has just died, and the widow of the twin brother has a bit of a fixation with the twin left behind, so that's going to lead to quite devastating consequences.
Ooh, nice. Sounds really good. Where can the listeners find you? Can you tell us your website, social medias, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I've just had my website redone, so I'm really excited for people to visit it. So that's mariafrankland.co.uk. Mainly I hang out on Facebook, as that's where all my readers are. I've got a Facebook group, a wonderful place, which is my happy place on the internet. And you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram.
All right, Maria. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to meet you.